Hi there, welcome back to another video. So for this video, I will be using some stiletto long extensions, and I like to size my extensions like I've never used them before. Because in the last video, I did use the sculpted almond long, but it's easy to assume that because I used the same exact brand previously that I would be the exact same sizes in a different style, and that's not always the case from brand to brand. So keep that in mind. So to size these, what I always do is start with the 0 because I know my thumbs are wide and usually I'm either a 0 or a 1. If I turn to the side, I do have just a little bit of space, so I am going to check the sizing with a 1 and how it feels. It looks good in the front, but once I turn to the side, there are some gaps here and I'm having to press the extension down super hard. So the 0 is just going to be a better fit as far as comfort level goes. If you are in between sizes, choose the one that's slightly bigger just to be safe so they don't pop off too fast. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this process for the rest of my nails, and then we're going to move on. Now that I have my sizes all selected, I am going to go ahead and etch the inside of the extension using my e-file. So I like to use my sanding band starting off, and I'm going to put this at about 3000 RPM. And then I'm going to start moving in up and down motions once I have the drill like right inside of the extension. With the opera tips, it's easy to see if you've done it correctly because you can just drill the numbers away, and that's kind of your indicator on if you've done enough etching. It isn't really foolproof when you're using the e-file, but it does give you a general idea of how much etching you need to do. The one thing I will say is that when you're doing this process, these opera tips, at least their revamped version of them, they're really thin around the cuticle area, which is a great thing, but it is very easy to overfile these. So I like to start off with the lower RPM and then just work slowly. If I need to do more, I will do more. When I am deciding how far up to file, I like to make sure I'm fully covering the natural nail. I've talked about this previously, but basically to give you a quick rundown again, I do this because I want to make sure that one, the extension is etched fully so it lasts long on my natural nails, but also it gives me a visual cue on how much glue really needs to be inside of the extension. So I'm just going to file up into where my natural nail stops again. So the sanding band works great for the larger size extensions, but when you start getting to your smaller fingers, for me, it is my pinky. The sanding band does not fit in there no matter how I twist and turn the e-file. So I like to switch over to a smaller bit and then pop that in there just so I can get in those corners. So now that I have everything all etched, I'm gonna lay the extensions out in the way that I plan on applying them. So I am right-handed and I like to work from left to right. And so in this case, I'll be working from my pinky to my thumb. So next I am going to just start my prep process. I'm gonna run through this very quickly because it is the exact same every single time. Grab some dehydrator, put it on there, and then grab some primer and put that on as well. And then you're gonna let the primer sit for about 15 to 20 seconds so that it can dry down and get nice and tacky. Next, I am going to be taking the Opera Extend Gel and placing this on each of my nails. I did get another question that asked, why do I place the Extend Gel on my natural nails and then turn around and place them on the inside of the extension? Honestly, I'm just following the instructions that the company recommends. So I really don't know scientifically, but my guess is that like products bind to each other. And when they do that, it just helps increase the adhesion. Similar to how a base coat grips to a top coat would be my guess. I'm not even gonna pretend to be the scientific guru or in this because I'm not. So if you have a better scientific explanation, you can put it in the comments, because I have put these on without doing this step, just putting them on the inside of the extension and attaching them like normal. They didn't last 2 weeks. I remember them falling off within like a week and a half-ish. So my guess, like attracts like, therefore it increased the adhesion. Okay, so once I have this on, I am going to go ahead and cure in my lamp for 30 seconds, and then I'm going to begin applying the extensions. So nothing too fancy here with this video. I'm just applying them like normal, going in, placing the extend gel on the bottom half of the extension, and then putting them on my fingers. Now that I have everything all applied, I am going to get rid of some of this dust. I really don't know where it came from because we didn't do any shaping or filing yet. So anyway, we're going to dust that away with this big kabuki brush, which is actually a makeup brush that I got from Target. And I'm just going to get everything out of the way. So now what I'm going to do is seal my cuticles. You can do this with acetone, but I'm actually going to be using my e-file today since I haven't done that on this channel in a while. So I'm going to turn my drill to a lower speed. I think I did like 4,000 RPM. I really don't ever go higher than this when I'm sealing my cuticles, especially like I mentioned earlier that these opera tips are thinner around the cuticle edge, so you don't want to do too much. So I do have like a little bit of glue that spilled out of the side, so I am just going to go over that really quickly, and this bit gets that up in no time. But what I wanted to show you all on camera is how gentle you have to be with these tips, because I really did not file that hard or anything. There's no pressure, and there's already a gap right here where I kind of overfiled the extension. In that case, what you could do is just grab some builder gel and fill in the gap. But honestly, it's just an added step, and you just don't want to have to do it if that's not what you intended to do. So just use a really light minimal pressure and don't overfile these. So next, at this point, what I would do is file them a little bit. I'm completely out of frame, so we're not going to spend too much time on this, but I normally take an 80 over an 80 grit file, crispen up the edges a little bit, and then get rid of that little point that's always at the top of the extensions that you need to file away. So now it's time for nail art. I will be using this shade here from D&D. It's from their sheer collection, and I've ranted and raved about this so many times. I really do like this collection. So I'm gonna go ahead and just lay down one thin coat of this to get started. So here's what one coat of this is looking like. You can see how sheer it is. So I'm going to go ahead and apply a second layer. I do feel like 2 coats of this polish really does suffice, but I wanted it to be a little bit more. So I did a third layer here. So here's what 3 layers of polish is looking like at this point. And now I'm going to remove the shine from the nail with a buffing block. First, I started with the buffing block when the nails were fresh out of the lamp. So there was a sticky layer, aka our inhibition layer. And the buffing block was just pulling across the nail. It was not a seamless process. So I decided to remove that sticky layer away with alcohol and a lint-free wipe, and then go in with the buffing block. And what this does is just take that sticky layer off so the buffing block isn't dragging in a place you didn't tell it to go. Now that the sticky layer is gone, the buffing block is just going to glide seamlessly on the nail, making it a lot easier for you. So I like to use the buffing block over using a matte top coat because I just haven't found a matte top coat that just works seamlessly with chrome yet. I've used about 3 so far, and none of them really give me better results than the buffing block. Some people say that using a matte top coat is going to be easier. In my opinion, it really isn't, because you have to apply a thin layer of the top coat, cure it for 60 seconds, and by then you'll be done buffing before the cure is up. This is easier, it's less product, it doesn't add any additional, bulk on the nail unnecessarily. The buffing block is just my preferred method. dust floating on the nail. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean it off with some acetone and just get it out of my way. So now I am gonna go ahead and grab some rhinestones and put this on the nail. The ones that I will be using today are from Hobby Lobby, but unfortunately I bought these about 2 years ago, so they don't make this exact set anymore. But if you are looking for rhinestones, the ones I will be using are about an SS5 if you are familiar with rhinestone sizing. So now I'm just pouring these out on my desk and I'm going to figure out what colors I want. What I'm doing is putting rhinestones in pairs before I put them on my nail so I can figure out what colors that I want on each finger. So I am pairing up complementary colors. So for example, red and green or blue and gold. Now I'm going to be taking the Macart rhinestone glue and I'm going to be placing a small dot of this where I want the rhinestones to be. For the pattern, I really just threw them kind of on the nail. Really, they're in a zigzag motion, kind of. One on the left side, one on the right side. Nothing too special. So here is what they look like now. Honestly, you could leave them like this. I'm not. So for the bigger nails, so for me, that will be my middle finger and my thumb. I did put 3 rhinestones instead of just 2. And I only want 2 stars on the nail because the stars are going to be big and they might be a little bit overpowering. So I'm going to take some caviar beads and place them around the middle stone. And for placement, I'm just going to put 1 on each side and then 1 on the top and the bottom. Very similar to how I did these nails here. Now I'm going to take some painting gel, and this one here is from Saviland, and I found this on Amazon in a kit, and it has a bunch of different colors, and I'm going to be using this black here. I actually really do like this. I've used this a couple of times. It's easy to work with. It's not a solid gel consistency, but it is just thicker. So to get your brush into it, you might just want to like warm it up in between your hands a little bit. So what I'm going to be doing is taking a dotting tool and I'm going to place 4 dots around the rhinestones to start off. Just in that same placement like I did the caviar beads, 1 on each side and then 1 on the top and then 1 on the bottom. I really do like this painting gel. It's pigmented, it's affordable, it's not too thick, and the best part about it is that it's no wipe. So when I go to put the chrome on later, I don't have to top coat this. It gives me a nice reflective finish. So the dots are all on the nail. I am not curing. And what I'm going to do is take a really small and thin liner brush and just place the edges of the bristle right on that circle and then pull outward so that now I have the illusion of a star. So once I have the longer, I guess you can call them rays, like rays of sunshine, star rays, beams, I don't know, down, I'm going to go in between each of them and create a smaller line. So it's kind of like drawing an X, but with something blocking you from connecting all the points. So now that I have the stars all drawn, I am going to cure this in my lamp for 60 seconds, and then I'm going to be going in with some gold chrome. To apply the chrome, I am going to be using a silicone tool. I just prefer this over the applicator sponges. I think it gives me a cleaner, more metallic, reflective type finish than some of the applicator sponges I've used. Just my preferred method. Really, you can use whatever works best for you. But it is going to be nearly impossible to get the chrome only on these lines because they are so small and so thin. So that's why it's very important to buff that sticky layer away when we're doing the base coat so that the chrome doesn't stick to it. So at the end, I like to clean off my silicone tool and then I go in and buff the chrome in a little bit more. And I've done this a couple of times and I definitely noticed a difference in the results. When you do this, it definitely helps give that more of a mirrored type reflective finish versus when you don't do this. So as you can see, I have chrome sitting everywhere. So what I'm going to do is take that same big fluffy brush from earlier and I'm just going to dust the chrome away. And you can see for the most part, it gets that chrome right off the nail. It doesn't stick to anything. It's great. But there are some areas where I did use a little bit too much rhinestone glue and the chrome stuck to where I didn't want it. So I'm gonna have to clean that up with a flat brush. But yeah, for the most part, buffing that sticky layer away really helps the chrome not stick to areas that you don't want it. So to get into those little areas where the chrome is and I don't want it, I'm going to be just taking alcohol in a flat brush to clean it away. So what I'm doing here is just adding some caviar beads because I felt like the space in between the two stars was just too empty for me. So I'm just going to place those in there. So while I do that, I'm going to talk through something that I wish I would have done differently looking back. So looking back on this design, I really think that I should have drawn out the rays of the star first and then put the rhinestone on top of it. Because right now it looks like the rhinestone is kind of like bursting through the rays instead of the rays coming from the stone, if that makes sense. So it's just a visual thing and a personal preference thing, but I do wish I did it in reverse. So the great thing about voiceovers is I get to share with you what I would have done differently because I'm already done. But yeah, that's just, personal preference thing, visualization thing. Really not that big of a deal, but it's something that I wish I would have done differently. But now I am going to go ahead in with a tempered top coat and I'm going to apply a thin layer of this on top of each of the nails. So I'm going to go ahead and place my hand in my lamp and do my final cure for 60 seconds. So here are what the nails are looking like all done. And aren't you glad this is not another wedding nail look? I've switched it up a little bit, gave you all some color, still kept a little bit neutral, but there's no white. So yay. But I think that these nails remind me of like a celestial space goddess or something. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, of course. And then if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. But in the meantime, I will catch you over in this video here.